Objectives. At the end of the lecture, you will be able to describe the differences between cross-sectional and time series analysis, illustrate the usefulness of the ratios, explain the 4 categories of financial ratios, calculate and interpret selected ratios. Lecture outline. We will touch on 2 categories financial ratio for this lecture: leverage ratio and profitability ratios. Leverage ratio. Leverage ratios measures the firm's debt relative to equity, the degree of indebtedness. This will be covered by the debt ratios. Its ability to cover interest expense during earning. Its ability to service debt obligation. In short, pay interest expense. It will be covered by times interest earned ratio. Debt position. The debt position of a firm indicates the amount of the outside fund, other people's money, being used in an attempt to generate profits. Basically, the company, the firm, borrow money to generate profits. Why is the measurement of debt important? The firm or borrower, basically the firm is the borrower, has to ensure sufficient cash for the repayment of interest and loan over a long period of time. In short, they must make sure they have enough money to pay back. If the firm is unable to pay its fixed-term obligations, it increases its own risk of financial failure. Basically, the moment the firm can't pay, it is running the risk of bankruptcy. Banks and other potential lenders may be unwilling to advance further funds if the firm is already engaged with significant amount of debts. In short, if the firm is heavily in debt, no banks or lenders will want to lend some more money to the company, to the firm. Creditors' claim must be satisfied before earnings be distributed to shareholders. Basically, the firm has to pay off the debts first before they can distribute the earnings to the shareholders. There are 2 main groups under leverage ratio. 1, those that measures degree of indebtedness. Basically, that is covered by the debt ratios. Next one, it measures the firm's ability to service its debt obligation out of current earnings. It's covered by time interest earned ratio. The debt ratios measures the proportions of total assets financed by the firm's creditors. The formula is this: debt ratio equals to total liabilities divided by total asset times 100%. Let's look at the formula for debt ratio. It's total liabilities divided by total assets. So the total liabilities can be found on the balance sheet, on the right side of the balance sheet, the red highlighted portion. Current liabilities plus long-term liabilities. And the total assets will be covered the left side of the balance sheet, highlighted in blue, is current asset plus long-term asset. So you can see the ratio of it, relationship between them. Let's look at the illustration for debt ratio. Calculate the debt ratio of Seafood Limited. For the year 2011, we add up the total asset is 921 mil plus 100 mil. Divided by the total liabilities is 1.008 billion plus 660 million times 100%. Give you 60.7%. For the year 2012, we have the total asset of 882 million plus 100 million, and total liability is 108 million plus 800 million times 100%, give you 52%. You can see from here the ratio has decreased, and basically it means that the debt portion is decreasing This is a good sign. Let's do some analysis here. The above figures indicate that seafood finances 52% of its assets with debts in 2012, which is lower than the 60%, 60.7% in 2011. This is a good sign. That means they are less dependent on external debts. It is still more dependent on external financing than the industry average of 45.2%, which means that comparing to the average company industry average is still more than them. Okay. Seafood is more dependent on debts, 52.0%, relative to its equity to finance its assets, and has higher risk of insolvency. So basically its total assets, 52% is financed by debts, and the remaining 48% is financed by own equity. So basically it has higher percentage of the asset is financed by debts. As a result, there's a higher risk of insolvency. Higher debt ratio. The companies have higher proportion of debts. It relies more on external financing. The effect will be it will have higher risk of insolvency, not able to obtain additional debt because of lenders here to take additional risk, or the borrower can only borrow at a higher interest rate. Companies with lower debt ratio, basically it shows that it has lower proportion of debts. It relies less on external financing. There are lower risk of insolvency, and it's easier to borrow from banks if needed to.